Golden Age Hollywood presented itself as the moral compass of American culture. On screen, stories celebrated virtue, romance, and justice. Off-screen, the reality was far more complex. Studios controlled every aspect of a star's public image, from romantic rumors to wardrobe choices and even friendships. Morality clauses in contracts meant one scandal could end a career overnight. As a result, Hollywood created a shadow world, private mansions, invitation-only gatherings, and silence enforced by fear, money, and mutual guilt. What happened in those rooms shaped careers, destroyed lives, and revealed the truth behind carefully constructed legends. Errol Flynn embodied the fearless hero Hollywood adored. Born in Australia, Flynn arrived in Hollywood with little discipline but enormous charm. His breakout role in Captain Blood made him an overnight star, and soon he became synonymous with adventure, masculinity, and rebellion. Off-screen, Flynn lived exactly as he pleased. He rejected studio authority, drank heavily, and treated fame as immunity. His Mulholland Drive mansion became infamous during the 1940s. Unlike studio-approved social events, Flynn's parties had no rules. Alcohol flowed freely, nudity was not unusual, and guests included actors, models, musicians, and people with no connection to Hollywood at all. Flynn believed secrecy was guaranteed by shared guilt. Everyone present had too much to lose. Police were often called due to noise complaints, but reports mysteriously vanished. His legal troubles began when accusations involving underage girls surfaced. Although acquitted, public trust collapsed. The studios slowly distanced themselves. His health deteriorated due to alcoholism, heart problems, and drug use. Once Hollywood's greatest swashbuckler, Flynn died at 50, physically broken, financially unstable, and largely abandoned by the industry that once protected him. Joan Crawford, 1904 to 1977. Joan Crawford was not born into privilege. She built herself from nothing and never forgot it. Rising through MGM, she learned quickly that survival required control. Every aspect of her public life was calculated: posture, voice, lighting, wardrobe. Privately, Crawford's gatherings were power plays disguised as dinner parties. Alcohol loosened tongues, and Crawford listened carefully. She observed relationships, weaknesses, secrets, and rivalries. Guests often left feeling unsettled, sensing they had revealed more than intended. Crawford believed information was currency. She used rumors strategically, to negotiate contracts, undermine competitors, and maintain relevance as younger actresses emerged. Her rivalry with Bette Davis was fueled not just by ego, but by fear of becoming obsolete. As Hollywood aged her out of glamour roles, Crawford reinvented herself in darker films, proving her intelligence and adaptability. She remained respected and feared until her death. Crawford's legacy is not just talent, but mastery of power in an unforgiving system. William Randolph Hearst, 1863 to 1951. Hearst was not a star, he was something far more dangerous. As a media titan, Hearst controlled newspapers across America. His approval could elevate a career, his silence could erase scandals entirely. San Simeon Castle was his kingdom. Invitations were symbols of ultimate acceptance. Guests surrendered autonomy the moment they arrived. Alcohol flowed during Prohibition, thanks to Hearst's political reach. Privacy was absolute. Marion Davies, his partner, acted as hostess, ensuring comfort while Hearst observed. The mysterious death of director Thomas Ince during a weekend gathering haunted Hollywood for decades. Official explanations never satisfied insiders. Hearst's press empire ensured the story vanished. San Simeon proved that real power in Hollywood did not belong to actors, it belonged to those who controlled narratives. Barbara Stanwyck, 1907 to 1990. Barbara Stanwyck despised Hollywood's artificiality. Raised in hardship, she valued authenticity over image. While studios promoted her as polished and professional, her private life reflected her refusal to conform. Her Northridge Ranch parties attracted cowboys, ranch hands, and working-class men, people untouched by Hollywood illusion. Gambling, whiskey, and brutal honesty filled the nights. Stanwyck cursed freely, drank heavily, and rejected femininity standards imposed on female stars. Her marriage to Robert Taylor suffered because he embraced the studio system she rejected. Ultimately, Stanwyck chose self-respect over appearances. She survived Hollywood by refusing to let it own her identity. Cary Grant, 1904 to 1986. Cary Grant was not born Cary Grant. He reinvented himself entirely, shedding a traumatic childhood to become Hollywood's ideal man. Studios guarded his image fiercely. Privately, Grant was guarded and deeply private. His long cohabitation with Randolph Scott fueled speculation the studios worked tirelessly to suppress. Their gatherings were discreet, selective, and silent. Grant married multiple times, often to maintain appearances. None lasted. He never confirmed rumors, understanding ambiguity protected him better than denial. Grant retired early, choosing peace over performance. His legacy is a reminder that perfection was often performance. Jean Harlow, 1911 to 1937. Jean Harlow was youth, rebellion, and raw sexuality personified. Studios struggled to control her because she refused to pretend. She drank openly, mocked authority, and rejected hierarchy. Executives feared her influence. Her defiance challenged studio power. Despite massive popularity, her health was neglected. Overworked and misdiagnosed, Harlow died at 26. Her death exposed Hollywood's willingness to exploit youth without protection. John Barrymore, 1882 to 1942. Genius destroyed by excess. John Barrymore was not simply an actor, he was born into American theatrical royalty. The Barrymore family name already carried prestige long before John stepped onto a stage. His siblings, Lionel and Ethel Barrymore, were celebrated performers, and from childhood John was surrounded by art, literature, and performance. Many believed he was destined for greatness before he ever proved it. Barrymore possessed something rare even among great actors: effortless brilliance. His voice, timing, physical presence, and emotional depth made him a natural Shakespearean performer. Critics of the time called him the greatest Hamlet America had ever produced. On stage, he was disciplined, commanding, and electrifying. When he transitioned to silent films and later talkies, audiences saw the same power translated to the screen. But behind the curtain, Barrymore struggled with something no talent could overcome: a complete lack of self-control. Alcohol entered his life early and quickly became central to his identity. At first, it was a companion, a way to calm nerves and heighten confidence. Over time, it became a crutch, then an addiction, and finally a weapon he turned against himself. Barrymore drank not only to escape pressure, but also to sabotage expectations placed upon him as a great man. His Hollywood parties reflected his internal collapse. Unlike carefully curated studio gatherings, Barrymore's events were uncontrolled and chaotic. He invited anyone willing to drink with him: fellow stars, struggling artists, strangers he met in bars, and people who sought advantage through his generosity. These gatherings often lasted for days. Alcohol replaced structure, and excess replaced dignity. Guests described Barrymore as magnetic and terrifying at once. He could recite Shakespeare flawlessly one moment, then forget his own name the next. Clara Bow, 1905 to 1965. The It Girl Who Paid the Price. Clara Bow was not just a movie star, she was a cultural earthquake. In the 1920s, she represented a new kind of woman Hollywood had never fully understood. She was young, working class, outspoken, and unapologetically emotional. Audiences adored her because she felt real in an industry built on illusion. Bao's performances captured modern femininity at a time when society still expected silence and obedience from women. She laughed loudly, spoke freely, and refused to behave like a carefully polished lady. Her film It made her a sensation and permanently branded her as the original It Girl. But that label came with expectations she never asked for and could never escape. Hollywood studios quickly realized Bao was too authentic to fully control. Executives feared her openness, her sexuality, and her refusal to follow rigid social rules. What audiences loved became what the industry tried desperately to suppress. Her private life became studio property, monitored, judged, and weaponized. Clara's parties were lively, chaotic, and filled with people from outside elite Hollywood circles. She welcomed strangers, laughed without restraint, and trusted too easily. That trust would become her greatest vulnerability. Her own secretary eventually sold private stories to tabloids, some exaggerated, others entirely fabricated. The press turned vicious. Rumors spiraled beyond reality, painting Bao as reckless, immoral, and unstable. The same studios that profited from her image refused to protect her when she needed them most. Instead, they quietly distanced themselves, allowing scandal to replace support. The constant scrutiny took a devastating toll on her mental health. Bao suffered emotional breakdowns, anxiety, and paranoia, terrified that every smile would be misinterpreted. Sound films only increased the pressure, as her Brooklyn accent became another target of ridicule. Douglas Fairbanks. Douglas Fairbanks and Mary Pickford's romance began in secrecy, born from shared fame and quiet longing. Their marriage was celebrated as a fairy tale, carrying the hopes of an entire industry. In the early years, love and laughter filled their private world. But the pressure to remain perfect slowly eroded intimacy. Fairbanks feared aging and searched for excitement beyond his marriage. Pickford remained loyal but felt increasingly alone and unseen. She turned to alcohol to cope with disappointment and emotional distance. They lived together while growing apart in silence. Public smiles hid private heartbreak. Their divorce marked the end of a love crushed by impossible expectations. Tallulah Bankhead approached love with the same fearlessness that defined her entire life. She rejected the idea that affection should be hidden, controlled, or explained. At a time when Hollywood demanded secrecy, Bankhead refused to disguise her romantic interests. She formed intense relationships with men and women alike, drawn to passion rather than convention. Her love life was fluid, impulsive, and unapologetically honest. She believed attraction was something to be experienced, not categorized or defended. While others married for appearances, Bankhead valued connection, chemistry, and emotional freedom. Many of her relationships were brief but deeply felt, shaped by desire rather than permanence. She never sought domestic stability, believing commitment should never feel like confinement. Loneliness touched her life at times, but she preferred solitude over pretending to love one person exclusively. Hollywood whispered about her romances, but she never denied them. In love, as in life, Tallulah Bankhead refused to live behind closed doors. Hollywood's golden age glittered with romance, passion, and promise. On screen, love stories ended in perfection and eternal devotion. Behind closed doors, real hearts struggled beneath impossible expectations. Fame magnified desire but rarely protected love. Romance bloomed quickly, burned intensely, and often faded in silence. Public affection concealed private loneliness and unmet longing. Many loved deeply, but few were allowed to love honestly. Secrets replaced tenderness, and appearances replaced connection. The illusion of perfect love became Hollywood's greatest performance. In the end, truth remained, love was the cost of the dream.